In this particular film, I want men to go to the theater and in some way see a version of themselves.
Once in a great while, my wife and I get to have a night where there's no kid. But you're like, oh, wow, we're going to have like the whole night together. And then you kind of realize how little time there really is between 5 o'clock and the next morning when the kid comes back into your life. So we become really economic about like, what are we going to do? Are we going to go to a movie? Are we going to go to dinner? If it is dinner, it should be something we really enjoy. And she comes home from work and she's like, I know what I want to do tonight. And I was like, what? She's like, I think I got to see this Blake Lively movie. And I was like, what Blake Lively movie? And she's like, it's called It Ends With Us. It's based on a novel by some, one of these porn writers. And,
Harlequin romance novels.
And I was like, why do you want to see it? She's like, because I'm like obsessed with YouTube content right now about the drama around Blake Lively. And I'm going to try my best to summarize it, best I know. Since our audience is mostly male, and I suspect this is mostly female-related drama, it's possible that very few of us here know exactly what's happening. But, okay. So the movie is about being in a relationship with a guy who domestically abuses her. On the red carpet and throughout promotions, she's been promoting her own brands. Somebody asked her, what would you suggest to a woman who comes to you if they were being domestically abused? And she made some joke or something.
I could just location share you, and then we could...
So she's being kind of flippant and inappropriate based on the content. But we'll get back to that because I'm not so sure. So the movie is, she's 23 years old, which Blake Lively's, she's 36, okay? So she's playing a 23-year-old. The movie opens with her dad died, and her dad was kind of abusive and an asshole, and she makes a big stunt where she says nothing nice about him when she was supposed to at the podium. So she's anti-dad. Then she goes and moves back to Boston, my Boston.
Your Boston.
Our Boston. And she's sitting on like a rooftop thinking about her life. And a 30-year-old brain surgeon, high status, very attractive, comes out on the roof and kicks the shit out of a chair. And he's like, damn it! And then... And then she's like, what did that chair do to you?
It's a strong chair.
Is it?
And then they kind of romance each other, but the romance is purely through negging. Like she's laughing at him at times and he's being overly confident. Like, I'd like to have sex with you. And she's like, what? You would just ask me that? The whole thing is really off-putting and vomit inducing. As time goes on, they do end up like in a serious relationship. And then it starts flashing back to her teen years, where as a teen, she fell in love with a homeless kid and was the only one who was kind to him when everybody else was cruel to him. Very high self-opinion. That's kind of a stand-in for the author. You know what I mean? And vicariously for the audience. Like,
I see. I'm
alternative, but I'm kind. I drive very high-status men wild just by existing, but they also they want to possess me. That's kind of part of the porn. There's like an incident or two or three with abuse, but like he has like some plausible outs that they were accidents or something. And then homeless boyfriend who her dad beat the shit out of, he now owns like a high scale restaurant, but he's still kind of down to earth, towel over his shoulder.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Also very hot.
It's a beautiful unicorn.
He sees her in some state of disrepair, pulls her aside and it's like, what did he do to you? What did he do to you? And she's like, nothing. And then he gets like real in the face of the brain surgeon. He's like, get the fuck out of my restaurant. The fuck out. Nose to nose. And Blake Lively's like, no, stop, both of you. And then they get married. No, did they get married? She ends up having the brain surgeon's baby. But there's another abuse incident and that makes her leave him. And then ultimately she doesn't stay with him. And she like says to the baby, like, it ends with us. Like we will break the cycle of violence. And then she like goes back to the bar back and she's like, I think I'm ready to, finish our high school romance or something. And that's the movie. And so then when I hear like she should have taken this content more seriously, I'm like, no, she shouldn't have.
This is smut.
This is smut. I understand that domestic abuse is like kind of a plot point, but this is not a serious movie about a serious topic. If we're honest with ourselves, if we can do that, the domestic abuse is kind of part of the ideation. I'm not saying that it's meant to be like, oh, I would like to be in a relationship with somebody who hits me. but it's kind of part of the excitement of like, and then like I was in a really bad relationship and then I went to a really good relationship but the high status man like wants to like hurt me because he loves me so much. That's all part of the psychology here.
Yeah, it's part of the titillation in a way. Yeah.
I'm watching this and I'm like, you're meant to be titillated by this.
So?
Mrs. Robinson, you're trying to seduce me.
You're not meant to call a hotline over this movie. I guess we want to pretend like it's an after school special. Blake Lively was hell on the set. So the guy who plays the brain surgeon, he directed the movie. When he was asked things like, would you do because there's follow-up books. I guess I don't know anything about this book, but I guess the book some years ago, was one of the top sellers, Twilight numbers, or maybe not Twilight numbers, but like getting up there. So they would love to make a lot of these. I'm sure they loved that they had Blake Lively attached. And so his answers were like, would you make a sequel? His answers were things like,
you're going to have to ask me in a little while. I think Blake Lively's ready to direct. That's what I think.
Implying like she took over the production. In a lot of interviews, she's like, I can't be part of a movie where I'm not producing. And I really insisted, the director really didn't want to use this very inappropriate song for one of the scenes, but I insisted.
Begged me to take that song out of the movie. I'm not supposed to be talking about this.
Or then there was stuff about like Ryan Reynolds actually straight up rewrote aspects of the movie or characters. Like he became like overly involved as well.
So the iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that but you now. But he wrote it. He works on everything I do.
Like Deadpool and Wolverine were doing promotional stuff around this movie when people were like, no, that's not appropriate for this film.
Holy shit.
So the two of them, I think the appeal of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively is they both really like each other and have their kids and everything. And this movie seems like the audience wanted to pick them apart a little bit, take them down a peg. I think it culminated in a Hollywood interviewer of some kind, one of these Hollywood Tonight type people, some press junket person, said that some years ago, Blake Lively and Parker Posey were in a movie together. She was interviewing them and the interviewer was like,
first of all, congrats on your little bump.
And Blake Lively said,
Congrats on your little bump.
The woman was not pregnant. So she's calling her fat or something, which I'm like, that must break the chick code, man. Like, I don't know.
yeah, that's an attack.
And then she asked about like the clothes in the movie. And Blake Lively is like,
I wonder if they would ask the men about the clothes.
Blowing this woman off. And the woman was like, I just about quit my job over that one interview and the run-in with these asshole-ish Hollywood types. But why do I tell you this? Well, because I had to go see the movie. We didn't see it in theaters. I downloaded a cam and we watched the cam.
Nice.
I couldn't be fucked to spend the whole night in a movie. Because if you see a movie at 6 o'clock, now you're watching the movie during dinner time. So your dinner's either popcorn and snacks, or dinner's going to be really late, or it's going to be really early, right? So it's like, I'd rather go to dinner with you, and then we could like get in bed at 9 o'clock and watch the cam of this fucking thing. It's certainly a different kind of movie than we normally talk about on here. It reminded me of, do you remember the drama around Don't Worry, Darling?
Which one's that?
Florence Pugh was in it. And it was directed by Olivia Wilde, and Chris Pine was in it too.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember that movie existing. I don't.
Well, it was an original film that got a lot of buzz, and partly because of the stars, partly because a star was directing it. But it seemed like there was a lot of desire to make as much drama out of the behind the scenes of that as possible. It seemed like people were really reveling and enjoying the drama. By people, I mean women. I mean, that's the audience for the movie, and then they seem to be interested in the drama. And I get the same impression this time that like there was some desire to like, hey, is there like some drama we can get out of this production? I wonder if it's going to become a pattern.
There's not enough drama and domestic abuse. I need to invent some around the film.
Well, I wonder if like every time, a high profile actress produces or directs a movie, if it's going to be, it's like a vanity project. Yeah. If like the audience is going to try to look for like, what beef was there on the set? And, they seem to be enjoying that as much as any of the content.
It's like the feminine version of will Kathleen Kennedy get fired in this time?
Yeah. So that's why, like, before you get too pissed off at the right-wing incels that got the Acolyte canceled, maybe you do it in your own way, right?
Anything else you'd like to say?
Not a damn thing.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.